Ever since I started doing this series, I thought it'd be fun to go back to some older games that I never really got the chance to cover on the channel. For those not initiated, the idea of this series is to look at the design of each super move in any given game. It can be a traditional fighting game, it can be an arena fighter, it can be whatever. And the goal is to judge each of them and then end up putting them in a tier. This tier list won't speak to the functionality or the viability of each super move. That's just not the purpose of the video. We're just judging the presentation of each of them. Now, if you are new around here, I'd very much appreciate it if you would take your time to subscribe. Subscribing does a couple things. It helps you keep up with what's going on the channel. That includes any news or information about various games, but it also helps me with complicated algorithm stuff. So it's kind of just a win-win, and it only takes a couple seconds out of your day. So since I decided to go back to an older game for the first time in this series, I couldn't think of a better game than Injustice 1. Especially right now with all the hints going around about a new Injustice project, it just seems like it's the right time. It's been a long time since I looked at some of these supers, so it's going to be a nice trip down memory lane as well. We're going to be working with 5 different tiers here: C, B, A, S, and S+. Even if a super is as low as C tier, it doesn't explicitly mean that that super is bad per se, but someone has to be at the bottom, right? It's possible that the game has nothing but incredible supers. We would still have to put somebody in C tier. Let's go from top to bottom, starting with C tier. Catwoman has the honor of being our very first character. I'm not even sure what to say for this one. Most of the animations, especially the animations on the target, look incredibly comedic and just totally out of this world. I mean, just look at the character's neck. Harley Quinn takes a comedic direction with her super, but it just kind of falls a little bit flat. It might be funny the first time you watch it, but every time after, it's less and less entertaining. Joker's super, for the most part, is fine, but the animation Joker has at the end is just ridiculous, and it kind of just takes me out of the whole experience. With that said, I definitely have a preference for a darker Joker rather than a comedic Joker, so maybe it's just a taste thing. All right, moving straight on into B tier with Black Adam. I love how strong the first punch looks, but everything after that just felt like they didn't know where to go with it. It's possible, but I would never write home about this one. One of my favorite characters, Green Arrow, Mr. Queen himself. This one uses some pretty awesome camera work, but it just kind of lacks some oomph. Solomon Grundy's super is pretty strange. You have to like activate it and then activate it again to make it happen. And even when you go through that whole process, he kind of just throws you to the ground and then hits you with a gravestone. I don't know. Again, it's fine. It's just not very eventful. Starting off A tier with Bane, who has some pretty strange animations, but he gets some extra points for just having that iconic final pose, and the slam down to the ground actually looks really good. The camera work on that's good. Hawkgirl gets extra points for using flight in her super, but at the end of the day, she kind of just hits the target twice while in the air, so Martian Manhunters is pretty cool, and I like the idea of him transforming into the opponent, but why does he actually do that other than just referencing the fact that he can transform into the opponent? Stuff like that unironically takes me out of the super and makes me enjoy it less. Nightwing's super is a little bit strange because his opponent just kind of sits there and takes it as he goes back and forth, but I'll forgive it just because the ending is really nice, and it's about as awesome as you can expect a Nightwing super to be, so I think it works. Superman basically just punches the opponent twice, so it's not really amazing, but it gets extra points for going to space. Zod has similar problems, but at least he breaks through the moon while he's doing it, and he uses heat vision, so it's basically just a better Superman super. Moving on to S tier, we have Ares. I mean, this one speaks for itself, right? It's pretty damn amazing, and it offers a really unique aesthetic that isn't really found elsewhere in the game. The only air super in the game, Batgirl, and it's a damn good one. Very creative design, but I will say I think the final hit where she jumps on the opponent's back kind of comes off as a little bit silly. But apart from that, it's damn near perfect. Speaking of bats, the Batman. I was originally going to place this one a little bit lower on the list, but the more I watch it and the more I think about it, the more I like it. And you can't help but love the backflip animation. It looks great. The Flash runs around the entire world and he ends up punching the target, and there's some fantastic camera work involved. It's hard to imagine this being any better than it is, of course, unless you've seen the Injustice 2 super, but at the time, I remember thinking this is a pretty wicked Flash super. Wonder Woman super is incredibly underrated. I really like the idea of fellow Amazonians helping her throughout her moveset, not just in her super, but actually in her moveset as well, and I would have liked to have seen more of that throughout her design. The last S tier character is going to be Zatanna. I love Zatanna and what they did with her in this game, but the last part of this animation is really static, and it kind of looked like someone's just using like a drag tool to drag Batman down, and I don't know, it just doesn't look great. That small detail is enough to keep it out of S+. Aquaman will be starting off our highest tier S+, and for a good reason. His super is fantastic. Someone on the animation team loves Aquaman, and it shows not only in Injustice 1, but Injustice 2 as well. Cyborg just has a big beam, and I could see how someone could find that boring, but I think it works. Deathstroke does a bunch of gun fu stuff, and it's freaking wicked. Oh, and of course, he gets extra points for the sick sword flip kick thing he does. Very cool. Doomsday has a stupid super move, but it's stupid in like the best way possible. He literally punches you through the earth, and it doesn't get much better than that. Green Lantern does a bunch of Green Lantern things, and Green Lantern things are really cool. I'm biased because Killer Frost is awesome, and I love that character, but I think we can all agree that this super is pretty damn amazing. Lex Luthor might have the best super in the entire game, and that's coming from someone who really doesn't like mech stuff, and that includes like mech suits. The camera works fantastic, the visual effects are great. Yeah, this one's honestly a little ahead of its time. Lobo does everything you want Lobo to do. They completely nailed this character aesthetically. His super is no exception to that rule. Raven has a super spooky super. I like spooky stuff, and it also has a Trigon cameo in it, so yeah, no complaints here. Scorpion's another candidate for the best super in the game. NetherRealm clearly put a lot of love into this character, and for obvious reasons, and it paid off. Shazam's another one of those candidates, in fact. The direction of this super is outstanding, and the visual effects team really came through on this. And whoever does the environment work also did a fantastic job here. And our final character on the list is Sinestro, who gets extra points for actually having a reason to go to space in his super. A lot of characters go to space and they just kind of do nothing up there. Sinestro does pummel his opponent with these two big meteors though, so at least he's got a reason to be up there. That's it, the full Injustice 1 tier list. Please keep in mind that these tiers are not ordered. Well, they're ordered, but they're ordered alphabetically, so there's no worst super on this list, or there's no best super on this list. It's not that I'm trying to hide which one I think is the best or which one I think is the worst. I literally just haven't thought about it because it's not the purpose of this video. I want to thank you so much for watching this video though, and if you didn't already at the start of the video, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. Let me know in the comment section if you'd like to see me do this for Injustice 2, because I never did that back when we were covering Injustice 2. My name's been Bilbzy, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next video.